Yo, what is up, guys? Back at it with another video. Right now, I just got up, bro. Well, not that long ago, but got a little video, got a little something that we're about to react to. So let's get it. Let's go. Hold on. Focus, bro. Focus. What's wrong with this? All right, let's get it, bro. Right now, what we reacting to is 15 most dangerous ultimate calls in the sea. So I guess like ships or something. But let's get it.
There are close calls all the time, from an individual human to a worldly ecological disaster. Close calls are part of human learning. From multiple rescues by the Coast Guard to sea snot, here are 15 of the most dangerous ultimate close calls in the sea.
It was impacting. I was left speechless. I'm very happy and very grateful to God and to the people who rescued my brother.
Number 15. Ocean Kayak Rescue. Cyril Deramo set out from California on what he hoped would be an epic journey for Hawaii. 70 days across the Pacific was the only thing that lies between him and his goal, however. There's no shame in trying, but this would be a challenge for even the most dedicated kayakers, as it shows with his demonstration. Unfortunately, his hopes of paddling solo from the U.S. to the tropical islands were cut short by none other than Mother Nature. Sometimes human ambition supersedes reasoning. Just 6 days after he set out on his epic journey, the storm struck. Stranded and with no way to fight the power of Mother Nature, he was forced to radio in an emergency call to the U.S. Coast Guard, who pulled him from the storm's grasp by helicopter. He says it was the most terrifying moment of his life, as it would be many people. Imagine being on a kayak all by your lonesome and getting pelted by 15-foot waves. That's a pretty dire situation to find yourself in. Luckily, he kept on fighting and weathering the storm. It took hours before the Coast Guard could reach him, so even with rescue on the way, he remained in peril. He's lucky all he lost was his boat throughout the whole thing.
He will attempt to add a new record to his resume, kayaking 2,400 nautical miles.
Now, let's get ready for today's open discussion. No matter your opinion on snakes, coming this close to one in the wild could prove disastrous, especially while it's in its element. Humans tend to not do very well when powerful things pull them underwater. While the subject's images could be argued to be fake, the reality that encounters like this occur every day remains very real. Many people live with these creatures daily, so it's safe to assume close calls happen all the time. Whether they're ever reported is a different aspect of the story. Would you report every scratch and dent you take on the job? For some, this type of encounter equates to such work hazards. Has anyone had a close encounter with a snake that still sends chills down your spine? I bet there are a few out there who'd love to hear about that experience, including us.
So I have peppers, tomatoes, parsley. What's that one? That's my credit.
Let me do something real quick while this little commercial's going. I'll be right back.
Sing to it every day. But it never grows. You need Credit Sesame. With Credit Sesame, you get your free score right away and see steps you can take to improve it. Daily score refreshes to help track your progress, and they'll even pay you for growing your score. Credit Sesame? Wow. Maybe I could start growing my savings there. You can even get a no-fee debit account through them too. Improve your credit score while you spend and save.
Alright guys, I'm back. Come on, bro. Nothing's wrong with my Wi-Fi.
You want to know a little secret? If you smash the like button, subscribe, click the notification bell, you'll have superpowers for the rest of your life. So what are you waiting for? Time to fly. Number 14. Fort Lauderdale Fire Rescue. What do you do when your ship catches fire and you can no longer contain it? Abandoned ship. 2 men were forced to take an unscheduled dip because their boat's engine had erupted into an inferno. Soon after it caught fire, it had sunk to the bottom of the ocean, and 2 men were stranded with no way to call for help. Luckily, they were close enough for the smoke to send a warning to the nearby Coast Guard station in Florida. Nobody was physically injured, but only they know of the mental trauma. The 2 men claimed to have no idea how the fire started, just that it quickly got out of hand.
Damn.
It's a good thing they hadn't traveled too far from shore. If no one would have spotted that smoke, they may have never been rescued.
That's true.
Number 13. Sea snot outbreak. This is what could become of our seas if we don't do anything about the growing threat now. A thick, slimy layer of so-called sea snot is spreading throughout Turkey's Sea of Marmara as far south as Istanbul, posing a monstrous threat to marine life and the vital fishing industry positioned there. Researchers say climate change, untreated dumping of sewage, and pollution have contributed to the multiple of organic matter, also called marine mucilage, which contains a wide variety of microorganisms that feeds on the toxins that are dumped. A filmmaker who's in the development of a documentary covering the situation says, the Sea of the Marmara's plight is the outcome of what humans did. This is the outcome of the household waste and pollution. A damning condemnation of the situation and a highlighter on more than one serious global issue. Should we not take this close call seriously and be proactive about this for the future? We can find a portion of the oceans covered in the sea snot in a relatively short time frame. And who wants to go to the beach to swim in snot?
Yeah, see that shit.
Number 12. Epic cargo spill. Traversing the ocean in the name of trade as a cargo ship is still one of the most dangerous jobs on planet Earth. Whenever someone is reliant on Mother Nature's blessing, you can consider it a relatively dangerous job. However, should she become enraged and toss a gnarly storm in the way, the results can be devastating to all parties involved. In December 2020, the one Apis container ship arrived in the port city of Kobe, Japan, after a punishing 8-day trek through the Pacific Ocean, where it battled a record-breaking storm and lost a considerable portion of its cargo in the process.
Damn.
It goes on record as one of the most considerable losses in cargo shipping history. Still, somewhere at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean lies a graveyard of more than 2,000 containers, jam-packed with unidentified cargo. The ship made it safely back to berth. Still, the remaining cargo took extensive damage from the sudden shift of balance and loss of foundational containers. Hundreds of containers collapsed on deck as a result. Of the known cargo loss, 64 containers have been labeled dangerous, including fireworks, batteries, and liquid ethanol. Millions of dollars were lost by the owners of the containers, which is the least of their worries. Number 11.
That's true.
Florida man runs to Bermuda, nearly sinks. When you've run all over and can't find another place to run, what do? You devise a contraption and try running on water, that's what. At least that's what this Florida man attempted to accomplish. The marathon runner from Florida got in his head that running from Florida to Bermuda in a bubble was a good idea. While it may sound crazy, it's definitely not impossible. Thus, he embarked upon a run of a lifetime. With the help of a hamster-like ball that spins and runs on water, the runner was set to go. After around 6 hours, the Coast Guard arrived and escorted him back to safety. You see, this wasn't the first time the runner had tried to pull such a stunt, and not the first time he was rescued. Claiming he was caught in a Gulf Stream and couldn't escape, he went willingly with the guard. You probably should have accounted for that in your planning on that journey, don't you think? If not, it's the same reason you got pulled to safety the first time, and you should have known. When being interviewed about his motivation, he said he was running for world peace. To say the least, the Coast Guard was angry, saying the runner violated a guard order not to embark. Both rescues have cost taxpayers over $100,000 per rescue. It's about time for this guy's family to start picking him up and not using the military and taxpayer dollars for these silly mistakes. In addition to being highly strenuous and slow-moving, the bubble was highly humid and created a dangerous environment if exposed for a prolonged period. A few days in it trying to run to Bermuda is plenty of time to get disoriented and nearly pass out as he did the first time. Some people just never learn.
That's what I'm saying.
Number 10.
Nigga dumb.
Indonesian teenager's survival. How would you feel if you woke up one day and your home was adrift in the ocean? Sounds like a nightmare, and that's precisely what happened to this Indonesian teen. His wooden hut, tethered to the seafloor, had been lurching threateningly as heavy winds whipped up the powerful waves around it. The snap that woke him from his slumber was the anchor rope breaking. As many would when presented with such a situation, he tried to wake himself up from the nightmare. He wasn't sure he was awake until he saw the hut had moved. He was adrift. Oli Novo Adelang, 18 at the time, picked up a walkie-talkie and radioed a message to his friends as quickly as possible, hoping to get his message before he coasted too far. "Phone the boss," he told them over a dying connection. "My anchor is snapped." It was the last words his friends would hear from him for 49 days. He was forced to survive off raw tuna, rainwater, and at his lowest point, by sipping seawater through his clothes. He was close to giving up hope. Employed on floating fishing huts known locally as rompong, Adelang and his friends would often spend months at a time out at sea, 75 miles from the Indonesian shore. Their job each night was to light the lamps strung around the huts to lure fish to the traps below and eventually bring in the haul once they filled.
Damn,
Number 9.
that boy was out there that
Amazing
long?
Coast Guard rescue. When Mother Nature decides to throw one of her tantrums, you don't want to be stuck in the blast radius. It can be one of the most terrifying things to experience here on Earth. After all, humans don't do so well in the middle of the ocean for extended periods. Good thing there's the brave men and women of the Coast Guard who often charge headfirst into these fierce storms to rescue people caught in the middle.
I'll be
Some
seeing
of the
some
most
videos.
daring rescues ever recorded are conducted by these brave individuals. This is
true.
one of the many examples to give
can
testaments
never
to
do
their
that shit.
incredible bravery and remarkable ability. That isn't even mentioning their state of resolve and calm amidst the storm. Sometimes literally. 2 boys, ages 11 and 14, are saved from the rising tide after getting stranded on rocks off a Scottish coast. The powerful waves forced them far enough from the mainland, where they were saved by swimming to a nearby island and stranded. With no escape and a storm rapidly rising in ferocity, the boys found themselves in a dangerous situation. The situation started with one of them getting into trouble in the water, and the other friend swam out to save him. Coast Guard intervened, says that they got to the boys in the nick of time just before the storm struck the island with record-breaking winds and waves.
Damn,
The youth may not have survived had it not been for this save.
that's true.
Every time you drive by an empty
Bro said he had trouble with the water, you can't
signs,
swim?
dollar signs. As out of the ashes of all
Bro,
these
I stay away from the water. I can't swim.
The opportunity is rising up, offering
Like,
you the chance
no
to
lie,
start a
I can't
simple
swim.
passive income business that allows you to be free.
I don't know. Nobody never
This
teach
right
me.
behind me
Like my
was
dad, he didn't know how
Archer Mall. It
to
was a
swim.
booming mall in the
I don't
heart
know
of
about,
Tampa, Idaho, when I was growing up. Now
my
look at it.
bros in
There's
there.
dead stores everywhere. Burlington Coat Factory.
Cut that shit up.
Number 8. Harrison O'Keefe. Try imagining going down with a ship and being trapped in an air pocket hundreds of feet below the surface of the water. Surviving on coke and snacks, that's precisely what Harrison O'Keefe did. After a violent storm overturned their boat and a hasty SOS call was made, authorities arrived to find the aftermath. The boat was shredded to pieces. After
Damn.
hours of searching the wreckage, divers eventually found a trapped, delirious, and barely alive O'Keefe. In addition to his small pocket of air, he was forced to ration. He had discovered a bottle of Coca-Cola and a life vest with 2 small flashlights. Without the light, it would have been pitch black. He told reporters after he had been rescued that he was beginning to lose hope, and the sound of sea creatures devouring the bodies of his crewmates nearby made it all the worse. Though he survived, he does so as a changed man. For better or for worse, he still hears the sounds of the creatures devouring around him, so he hasn't had a good night's sleep in quite some time. Number 7. Ticking time bomb of Thames. In 1944, during World War II, a Florida-built cargo ship loaded with 1,500 tons of explosives set off to resupply forces in France. Along that journey, it ran around snapping in half in Thames estuary. The crew abandoned the ship for fear of the explosive detonating, and it hasn't been touched since. To this day, it sits at the bottom of the Thames as a ticking time bomb that could set off with one powerful crashing wave. Thank goodness it hasn't yet. The ship, dubbed the SS Richard Montgomery of the Liberty class, was a category of transport ship meant to be manufactured swift and in enormous quantity. Liberty ships were robust vessels capable of carrying troops and dry cargo, and took as few as 42 days to construct and launch. To give you a sense of the fleets constructed in this manner, over 2,500 Liberty vessels had been constructed by the end of the war. Awaiting a convoy to join, the Montgomery ran aground. The following day, the pressure of her wedged situation snapped her in half, and she sank with all the explosive material still in tow. The area is marked as a maritime hazard zone and monitored by the UK's Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. An exclusion zone of 1,640 feet wide protects the wreck. Number 6. Fishermen lost at sea. In 2012, a fisherman named Salvador Alvarenga cast off for an epic fishing expedition for what was supposed to be the catch of a lifetime. 2 days later, a violent storm struck, and the desperate SOS call he made was the
what's all
last
these
anyone had
fucking
heard from him in
ads,
over a year.
bro?
For 438 days, he was forced to survive as the real-life castaway character.
Wow.
Floating across the ocean for over a year, he battled his mind more than he had ever before in his life. A reasonable thing for a human to go through considering the situation. Loneliness, depression, and bouts of suicidal thinking were the pervading emotions. Would he ever be rescued?
How long should he wait? Surviving in a hostile world with even more hostile creatures is one thing. Having to battle vivid hallucinations and extreme solitude is another, and it did little to prepare him for what awaited him on his return. International fame. For weeks he refused to talk to anyone, barely even showing his face. Who could blame him? The trauma is likely irreversible. At one point, he reported he was so hungry that he began eating his own fingernails for sustenance. That's like one step before cannibalism. Eventually, he faced the press. Dressed in baggy clothes to disguise his malnourished torso, he recanted his nightmarish story with horrifying detail. Number 5. Incredible Norwegian rescue. The deep ocean is arguably one of the most dangerous places for a human to be. It's right up there with barren deserts. Its scale alone makes it a hazard, and that's not considering the storms that rage or murderous creatures residing below. It's a majestic, beautiful, nightmare-inducing place. The crew of this Dutch cargo ship found this truth out the hard way. While being evacuated during a deadly storm off the coast of Norway, the crew of this fishing vessel was forced to abandon the ship. Moments after, it was swallowed by the 20-foot swells crashing upon them. The storm reached such ferocity that the 12-man crew was forced to jump into the ocean. Their rescue finally arrived in the form of Norwegian Navy helicopters and the brave rescuers who rowed them. The sinking cargo ship contained a whopping 350 cubic meters of heavy fuel oil, 75 cubic meters of diesel, and 10 cubic meters of lubricating oil. In other words, a sinking natural disaster waiting to spew into the ocean. Luckily, the vessel didn't travel far from its original location, and the tracking beacon survived the wrath. Salvage workers managed to save the ship before the contaminants broke free and invaded the ocean. Aside from the cargo ship's own fuel pollutants, none of the cargo had leaked, saving the world from yet another ecological disaster. Number 4. Stupid tourist with world deadliest octopus.
Oh shit,
Tourists have been known to do
stupid.
some
I heard
stupid
about
things.
these.
If there's one thing tourists should avoid, even if you don't want to admit you're one of them, it's
Those are the
local
deadliest things
wildlife.
in the ocean,
Wild
bro.
creatures are not to be trifled with if you don't understand them, and more importantly, what they can do. At first glance, the blue-ringed octopus looks perfectly harmless. Its bright coloring and pint-sized packaging made it seem more adorable than dangerous, but don't let its cuddly exterior fool you. This tiny octopus can kill you in a snap. At current, there's no antivenom for the toxic bite of a blue-ringed octopus, and this dumb tourist was messing with it like it was a puppy. Its toxin is so potent, one bite could kill 26 humans in a mere 25 minutes. Needless to say, if that tourist had been bitten, he'd been dead. Getting a good social media post is good, but when it puts your life at risk in the process, is that worth it?
This nigga was
Number
holding
3.
it in his hand,
Stranded
bro.
in the Bahamas.
What the
Being
fuck?
stranded anywhere is a scary notion.
tweaking,
It's a
bro.
good thing the Coast Guard goes on random patrols to make sure things like this don't happen too often. He did, however, have to wait 5 days before being rescued. That's plenty of time to go mad with a drift in the seemingly endless size of the ocean. The camper floating in the Florida Keys was recovered from a desolate islands in the Bahamas, and this is what happens when companies don't give people enough vacation time. Number 2. Sydney Harbor shark attack. Shark attacks are on the rise, and nowhere else more than Australia. So if you live in a country full of deadly bugs, sea creatures, and the deadliest reptiles in the world, it'd be best to check for sharks before taking a dip in the harbor. For the person equipped with this GoPro camera, it was an unnecessary step to ensure his safety. It would be one he would regret, though luckily learn from. Just as he leaps into the water, his friend, still safe on the pier, starts yelling "shark!" The boy in the water doesn't take this seriously until the shark is dangerously close and could have attacked him with ease. Luckily, it wasn't hungry. It comes real close a few times to check out if he tastes good, though. Number 1. Sunken Soviet submarine.
Yo.
Russia has a boatload of sunken vessels carrying live explosives. They hope to salvage and reclaim some of the valuables. Submarines are a tense subject between Russia and Sweden following a series of military incidents during the Soviet era. The salvage is an attempt to quell those tensions and sew the relationship back to working order. In October 1981, a fisherman alerted the Coast Guard to a submarine of Soviet origin that had mysteriously run aground in Swedish waters, sparking concerns the Soviet Union would reclaim. While they hadn't, thanks to negotiations, they've agreed to take the risk of detonation by saving it themselves. The vessel sank nearly 100 years ago and has been a hot subject between the two nations ever since. Close calls are a daily occurrence. Whether it's a personal close call or an evasion of a natural disaster, humans are constantly resolving issues in the nick of time. Life is complex.
Alright, bro. So we gonna end it off right there. Hey, that shit is dope as fuck. Our first one will be this with the sea snot. Bro, that was all us doing that, bro. We gotta do better. We're gonna fuck this world up for real. This pollution and this fucking shit. Nobody don't want to swim in that. And you see how thick it was? It's weird. What else? That guy that been in the sea for a year, bro. I can't imagine just being out there by yourself for a year. You'll lose your mind, your food, like it'd be like, oh my god. What else? Damn, I got something else. Oh, that guy was holding that octopus, bro. That's like the deadliest fucking thing in the sea. Like, you should not be holding that. And maybe he didn't know that. 9 out of 10, he didn't know that. But yeah, that's just crazy. What else? Everything else was good. I mean, this is a good video, but I would never be out in the water like that. I don't even like water to begin with. I can't even swim. So you won't see me on a boat, on a yacht. You won't see me on nothing like that. On a jet ski, I might be like, the water might be like waist high, and that's it. I'm good. Y'all guys take it easy. Subscribe if you're new.